Hello, it is Throwback Thursday, July 18th, 2019. Steve Sipress here in the beautiful downtown Scottsdale Galleria Corporate Center. We just concluded our CEO Scottsdale event that I am hosting. And we're meeting on the first and third Thursdays of every month. So if you're around the Scottsdale area on August 1st, hit me up and I might shoot you an invite. Anyway, video today is not about that. It's Throwback Thursday. And while it's not exactly to the exact day, I think it's 2 days from now that we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of the U.S. astronauts landing on the moon. I remember the July 20th, 1969 newspaper with the big headline, "Men Walk on Moon," which I believe that was the New York Times. I lived in New York as a kid. And I also remember my mom, I don't remember exactly what time it was, but I remember my mom waking me up. She woke us up and said, "You must watch this. You'll never forget it." And I never have. Not to mention, I never forgot my mom for doing stuff like that. And she woke us up and we sat there and said, whatever. Like a 9-year-old kid, what did I really know or care about? Men are walking on the moon with black and white, grainy, could barely see it, could barely hear it, whatever. But you see how 50 years later, I remember it. And I remember most of all how much my mom loved me to make sure I didn't miss that just because I was only 9 and should have been in bed sleeping. And so that was a momentous thing. But I know I wasn't there to hear it for, I believe it was John F. Kennedy's inaugural address is where that began. In 1961, I guess, was the election in 1960. So he would have taken office, I believe, January 61, where he said, look, by the end of the decade, or as he said in his Boston accent, by the end of the decade, I believe if you see the recordings of the speech, which you'll probably see in the next couple of days, as people post and online and on the news and wherever about this moon landing, you'll see likely that speech of John F. Kennedy. I want you to think about that as a business owner, an entrepreneur. Sid is here, good seeing you. That's where it all starts. You want to accomplish a huge goal. Your job as the CEO of your business or multiple businesses is to cast vision. That is the number one job of you as the CEO and or an entrepreneur. It's to cast the vision. It's not to do everything. And so, doctors, lawyers, dentists, even some contractors or whatever, people that, I just want the phone to ring so I can go out and do work or get another client and do things. You're not who I'm talking to. You're transactional and you want to just sell, you just don't want to work for somebody else, but you're basically self-employed. And you just don't want to have a job with someone else. I'm talking to somebody who's a true CEO of a company. So maybe that's how you started, but now you say, I want to scale this thing, I want to grow, I want to build it, I want to really be something. If I can help 20 people a day by seeing them in my office as a chiropractor, dentist, doctor, whatever, well, I can help 2,000 people a day if I just open multiple offices. And so if you really want to help more people, you don't say things like, well, I had a doctor contacted, or was somebody put me in contact with a doctor, and then the doctor was like, oh yeah, no, I'm not even accepting new patients right now. I'm all booked up. I'm all full. And I'm like, that's fine. That's okay. And I don't want to talk to that person, except on a video like this. But one-on-one, I don't want to take my time to talk to that person. That person's transactional. I want to talk to the person who is exponential thinking. Hey, I'm all booked up. Need to start a second location. Need to hire some associates so I can see 2 or 3 times the people. And then I don't have time anymore to be seeing the people in my office. I will only see the top people with the biggest problems that I can solve. For a dentist, I will stop pulling teeth and looking at x-rays and doing exams and cleanings, whatever. I will do the total facial reconstruction. People that were in a car accident, the $80,000 dental work patients. That's when I'll come in and actually do dental work. But all the other routine stuff, veneers and crowns and this and drills and wisdom teeth, whatever they do, I got to hire lots of people who do that. That's the vision. Well, if that's where you want to be, it starts just like John F. Kennedy started men walking on the moon, even though, of course, tragically, he wasn't alive to see it come to fruition. He said by the end of the decade, or again, he said by the end of the decade, if I remember that speech correctly, we're going to put a man on the moon. Now, somebody would have asked, and many people did, how? And the answer is, we don't know. But you know what? I'm going to get the best people on it, and they're going to figure it out. And they likely, if he hadn't have said that, maybe we would have put a man on the moon by 1975 or 80 or 90 or who knows. But he said by the end of the decade, and that was it. July 20th, 1969, newspaper came out and said men walk on moon. So I don't know if they actually walked on the moon on the 19th, which would be 50 years ago tomorrow, or if it was after a little bit after midnight on the 20th. Again, I was a kid. Mom woke me up. I just know it was late at night, and I was like, what's going on? But that's a big deal. That's a big, humongous goal. Put a man on the moon. I mean, that was a joke forever. Like, sure, like, what are you going to put a man on the moon? Like, that'll happen when there's men on the moon, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, it happened. But it started with casting a big vision. That motivates people. That puts things into action. That is the key to eventually reaching that big goal and getting the job done. That's my message to you here on Throwback Thursday from the beautiful Galleria Corporate Center, right in the middle of old downtown Scottsdale. On Throwback Thursday, I remember 50 years ago, and I believe they lifted off from Earth about 3 days before. So probably 50 years ago today, they were en route in the air from the Earth to the moon, and then they landed either tomorrow or the next day 50 years ago. But it all started with a non-astronaut and a non-scientist and a non-engineer. But as the President of the United States, leader of the free world, John F. Kennedy understood his role. His role was to cast the vision and put out the big goal, and then hire the right people who will just get it done. And anytime they came up with, well, it's not happening, it might not happen, find a way. Find a way. That's the goal. Get it done. And I believe that long after Kennedy was gone, tragically, for years, whoever else was in charge just went back to that and said, are you forgetting that the goal is by the end of the decade? That was the promise made to the rest of the world, and we are not going to flop on that. If that's how you're thinking and you're that sold on your goal, tremendous things are going to happen. And then there's the saying, if you shoot for the moon and you miss, you could still land on a star. So maybe they might have missed. Still would have gotten that man on the moon in 1970 or 71 or something, probably decades ahead of where they would have been, if not for the great leader John F. Kennedy casting that vision. What kind of leader are you? Are you spending your day thinking about really big projects, big goals, and then casting the vision, getting the best team in place to get it done? Or are you sitting there hiding out in the doing of your business and therefore missing out on accomplishing all kinds of great goals you could accomplish? So thanks. Will is here too. Good seeing you. Thanks everyone being here live. Watched on the replay. That'll do it for Throwback Thursday. I'll be back tomorrow on Foundation Friday. I have a foundational basic business tip that I'll be sharing with you then. Over now for today. Bye-bye.